Welcome to the Call to Farms podcast. I'm your host, Tim Ing, the homesteading agent, joined by my lovely wife, Sophie.
Hey friends, this is Sophie, Sprinkle with Soil and the Homesteading Lender.
And where did March go?
I don't know.
Well, over the past 7 to 8 weeks, we have been off the mic. Mortgage rates have not dropped.
Mhm,
Diesel has climbed.
mhm.
In fact, I think gas prices are climbing every single
I
day.
think it's jumping by 10 cents every day.
Crazy. Fertilizer has doubled in cost, and one of the most important shipping routes in the world is now under threat. Well, it's under ceasefire.
I do want to say that I did call this out in June about the Strait of Hormuz and urea. I even did like a little news reel on Instagram. But yeah, it's getting scary now.
And at the same time, we've been on the ground building, lots of building, planting, raising animals, closing loans across all 50 states, and watching one clear pattern emerge.
That's right. The families who are moving now are getting ahead, and the ones waiting, they're starting to feel the pressure. We're talking to a lot of clients and people who are coming from all over the country, and the time is now.
So, what are we going to be talking about on this episode? You're going to want to tune in because we're going to be covering what's actually happening in the housing market right now and why spring is different. What's going on globally with Iran and the Strait of Hormuz and why this matters to you. The fertilizer and food supply ripple effect that most people are missing, what we've been doing on our homestead, and why it matters at this very moment. And finally, what you should be doing right now, whether you're buying, holding, or preparing.
Okay, so let's start with what most of you are feeling directly, the housing market. So, what's actually happening is mortgage rates are still between 6.5 to 7, holding steady since February 2026. We're now finishing up the actually, no, we've already finished the first Q1. We're in Q2 now. And Jerome Powell has not lowered any rates. Inflation is still persistent. In fact, it may have gotten worse. And the Fed is holding firm. You want to talk about inventory?
Well, there's a lot more homes coming up across the market. I've been working on deals in California, Tennessee, multiple states. Been working with a lot of veterans. There are a lot of moves going on right now, whether it's buying or selling. So if you've been on the fence just thinking about purchasing property or going out there to look, you need to do it now. I'm finding that a majority of people are finally taking the very next steps, especially now that it's spring. The weather's great. A lot of people are flying in to see me this month, April, because that's where the grass is growing. It's a beautiful time in Tennessee, meeting with a lot of new clients that are coming out here, and they're just tired of waiting, just watching the news and what are they going to do next? And when are the rates going to drop? You know what? Now's the time to act.
Yeah. And so if you're on the fence, start looking now. It may be that, you may not be ready in 30 days, but it is getting hot. Like Tim called out, typically in our many, many years of doing real estate, even now focusing on homesteading real estate, buyers do come out after the Super Bowl. Not that we
Right.
watch anymore, but that's what we see. And it's a pattern.
It is. And I've had a couple of really good conversations, most recently this past week alone, of avid listeners who've been listening to us from back in 2020. And they said that back then they knew in their gut, just like us, that they needed to make a move. And now they feel they're behind the power curve and they're wanting to do just that. I even had a client that came out, was it 2 weeks ago? He got a new job out here, moved from Idaho and his whole family, and they got under contract right away. I mean, they are people that we're working with, they are just super motivated
You've
to make that
actually
move.
you've actually had we've had two families move out of Idaho
Oh, that's right.
this month.
Two
And
two families.
It's not funny, but it is a little because we can usually tell when something's going on when we see an influx of folks who are reaching out. If they're coming from Maine, they're coming from California, New York, Idaho, Michigan, Montana. Something's going on. Like a couple of months ago, it was Virginia.
That's right. And I'm getting my feet wet. I'm actually doing some loans now too, working alongside you. So it's been super exciting doing a VA loan out in Oakland and representing the buyer. I'm also doing another VA loan out in Oklahoma as well. So it's exciting times. People are making the moves. A lot of people, like I mentioned, that are homesteading, they're upgrading and are getting more acreage.
Actually, we have one of our really good friends in Middle Tennessee
Hmm.
who's been waiting for years. She pulled a HELOC out a couple of years ago, and her husband were waiting for more land. And just this 2 days ago, she reached out and she said, there's a 90 some acre property. It's priced really well, which I think it came out to like almost 15,000 per acre, which by the way, we haven't seen in a long time in East Tennessee, especially if it's usable land. And they're going to be upgrading their beautiful home in Columbia, Tennessee, and they're going to build their home just down the street. They're going to buy the land, do a one-time close loan, and we're going to be going out there to check out the land with her.
Hmm.
She's a really good friend, and take a look at their house, put it up on the market, and get them going because there's no more time to waste.
That's right. And we are reporting to you live the trends that we're seeing because the past couple of months, we saw trends in HELOCs of folks that are wanting to take the equity from the homes that they've purchased years back and use that money to consolidate debt and
Mhm.
be able to be in a better financial position to put a down payment on another home, for instance. But now we're seeing a lot of people are purchasing land and making use of the one-time close loan.
Yeah, it's great. I think that that is the best way to get into your dream home and start going. If you are waiting, it's going to get tougher. We were talking to a builder, and we actually have one of our mentors here, and he works for a steel company in East Tennessee. And they are saying that the cost of steel is going to rise. And so this was before the war in Iran. And Tim and I haven't had a chance to sit down and talk for the last 8 weeks. We have been on the road. Before our cows calved about a month ago, we just figured, let's just get everything done that we want to get done before it gets to busy season. And then it hit busy season. And we'll talk more about that in our homestead update.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of movement going on as it has been, but we're really seeing people come out and say we're not waiting anymore. And so this month we haven't hosted one since last quarter,
Mhm.
but this will be the first one for Q2, which is our home buying 101 webinar. We host this, we were hoping to do it monthly, but it has just been completely bonkers with everything that's going on, especially now that spring is here. But so many movements are happening, and so many people are reaching out. The webinar is taking place Thursday, April 30th at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. We're going to go on, talk to you for at least 60 minutes to 90 minutes with Q&A. Come and ask us any questions that you may have, any reservations, what you think might be going on, and we'll definitely share what's going on. We're going to be talking about accessing your equity, any special loan strategies, one of them, which is the one-time close loan, and what it's going to be like buying in this market.
Yep, absolutely. And we're never talking about being fear-based, but it's being very prudent. If you've been on the fence just thinking about homesteading or just making that next move or wanting to ask these questions on, are you financially ready to make those next steps? We're here to help.
Yes. And so click on the link below. We'll have it as the first link there where you can go ahead and register for free. It'll be joining us on a Thursday night. So we hope to see you there. Okay, now let's zoom out because a lot of this urgency isn't just the market, it is global. And like I said, When we left 8 weeks ago, we had no idea what was going to happen with Trump and the war in Iran. All of it just seemed to happen within 24 hours, and we were not home, which made things a little gnarly. But we did have a system in place where now we can leave without having to really ask for much help, which is fantastic.
Yep, we're all about building systems. So homesteading is great and raising your own food and it's all nourishing, right? Growing your own food and knowing that you're nourishing your family and your loved ones with it. We're all about that. And we're all about creating systems so that if you have to take a day or even a week away from the homestead, it's going to be covered.
Right. There was a fantastic opportunity for us to go to a 2 week training. Um, Many thousands of miles away. And I'm glad we did. We would not have been able to if we didn't have these systems in place. And I think that even if you weren't traveling a long distance, it's still good to buy yourself some extra time. So we'll talk more about that. But let's go back to the global update and Iran and the Strait of Hormuz, because this has been something that I've been watching since June of 2025 when there were already rising tensions with Iran, Ukraine, Russia. And if you don't know, the Strait of Hormuz, there's been a lot of pressure around there. 20% of global oil flows through this route. And this disruption affects our fuel, our shipping, agriculture prices. And so that's exactly what we're seeing right now because the cost of diesel in our area is rising. We're talking almost $6 locally. And we're at, as of today, I think we saw 409 for just regular unleaded gasoline. And when we left 8 weeks ago, it was at $2.30. So it has doubled.
So, aside from rising costs of fuel and diesel, so what?
There's a lot of uncertainty. And so with that, that affects rates. Rates haven't budged at all.
But actually, more importantly, it affects agriculture.
Oh, yes. Food, agriculture, it's everything. And because we have our hands in a little bit of every single industry,
Mhm.
we see the effects multiply. But this is where you're right. This is where it hits the hardest. And specifically, our fertilizer, the way that we farm in America, we have heavy reliance on urea, which is nitrogen, ammonium nitrate, sulfate, phosphate, potassium. It's all salt based. And unfortunately, it's all imported inputs. And because we source these globally in the Middle East, in Russia, in Belarus, we're dependent on these shipping routes to get to us. And that's why we're seeing fertilizer costs rise sharply. In fact, we were in Hawaii and we were talking and meeting with other farmers. They're conventional and one was from North Dakota, another one was from Maui in Hawaii. And the one in Maui in particular, he manages the largest farming operation for the state of Hawaii. And I asked him about this because right when the Iran war had started, we were probably about a weekend when we met him. And I asked him about cost of fertilizer rising and the same question to our commercial farmer in North Dakota. And he said that urea price per ton has doubled. I think he said it was like 300 something per ton um, last year, and now it was over $700. So that's confirmed. That's what we're seeing. And so, because of that, farmers are going to be raising food costs. Right now is when farmers should be farming. We're in April now. They should have gotten their fertilizers to get them into the ground. Seeds should be going into the ground this month and next month. And that's what we're doing at home here.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was great that we were able to go straight to the source and interview these farmers because it's so difficult when you're watching the news or you're scrolling on reels to discern what is real and what is not, and to actually get confirmation from them. This is why we don't farm conventionally. This is why we farm regeneratively. why we're constantly learning new skills, new tools to add to the toolkit as to how to do natural farming, especially Asian natural farming.
Exactly. Let me just go back to that conversation with the farmer though, because
Mhm.
our farmers are going to be raising food prices. The food prices that you see and find in the grocery stores, number one. And the other thing that I asked him was, so what's going to happen to your farm? And he said, well, we're going to be planting fewer crops because if the cost of urea and many other fertilizers have doubled, then they've got to cut their farming in half so that it doesn't cost them any more money. But now they're going to have to make up with it in rising costs for you and I. And I think that this is already happening. It's not theoretical. Though we may not feel it now in the grocery stores, we definitely will be feeling it at harvest time. I'm saying August, September, October, because the crops that are supposed to be put in the ground now, that's when we harvest them.
Well, it's going to have a ripple effect because not only does this affect the farmers themselves, it's going to affect logistics, transportation, the trucks, getting them from the farm to the stores. And where do you think they're going to transfer those costs on to you as a consumer?
Right. And so this is why we have our Call to Farms platform so that we can put out the information that we have available. I know that we have a very unique perspective on the many, many conversations that we have, not just from our clients, but from the many different spheres that we run. Right. And so that's exactly why what we're doing at home matters more than ever. This is why we've kind of gone off the grid for the last 8 weeks, is because we have been heads down investing in skills, investing in all the things that we need to get done because we spent the last year as our Shemitah year or our Sabbath year. It's a biblical year of rest. It was also our first official year of being on our new 40-acre property. So we wanted to just observe how we were using the land anyway. But now that the weather has gotten warmer, and to be honest, we had a really long winter. So there was a part of me that thought that winter was never going to end. So we took care of a lot of things in the home. But it has been really cold and it still is. It's warmed up a lot, but it has gotten pretty cold. And this is why all of the starts that I've just put into the ground, we're making sure that they are cold weather. Otherwise, they're staying in the greenhouse.
Yeah, exactly what you said. Why we have call to farms is because you can only control what you can control, especially during these times when there's just a lot of negativity out there and the world can be seem very chaotic. This is what you can do. Hands in the dirt.
Yeah. And I think it's really hard sometimes for us to do this because there's a lot going on. And this is, I think we said it before, this is the only time that you and I get to sit down to really talk about, okay, let's just download what's been going on, what we want to do.
I want to talk about what we've been doing on our homestead because I'm super excited. It's been a lot of life coming on. We have a bull calf,
Yay, A2A2 registered
A2A2.
Jersey.
I know a lot of people have warned me about Jersey bulls, but I know that his dad was docile. And so I'm hoping, and the mom is
Mom?
it's very friendly. I'm hoping that this bull will be really good. And so far, I mean, he's beautiful. Now, I wanted to also add that we've been preparing, right? And we're talking about the news, we're talking about hands in the soil. We know that Yah is in control, and we want to do whatever we can to hit the ground running, especially in springtime. So not only do we have that bull calf, we're back into milk. I mean, milk production, we've got milk flowing. And so we had a nice time off, but now we're back in the swing of things. And we also have two bottle fed lambs, something we did not plan on. And I know if you're doing farming the right way, those bottle fed, I mean, the moms should be cold and that these are not productive, going to be productive lambs, but they're so adorable. Um, our girls are learning responsibility and taking care of the lambs. And it's having a bottle fed lamb, if you've ever had one, they're better than a puppy. I mean, they'll follow you everywhere and they're very adorable. I know that they're going to be pets, these two. The other animals on our farm are working and they have a purpose.
Well, so we actually sold 4 of our really good mamas 2 years ago,
Yeah.
and the 2 ewes that we left behind as pets, we had just kept them. Um,
Mm.
and so we spent another year of just feeding them and not putting them to work. So last fall, we had them spend some time with Fabio. He's a really handsome Katahdin ram with like chest hair. I call him Fabio. He's really handsome. And so that all worked out. And now we have from those 2 leftover ewes, their first time mamas now, and they were supposed to be harvested at the same time as the others were sold. We held on to them because they were named after our 2 mentors, Maggie and Benny, and Daisy is our other bottle fed calf. And so, anyhow, because of them, we now have 3 bottle babies.
They're pets.
They're pets, but
Which is supposed to be a big no-no in homesteading world, okay? You need to have animals, including the dogs. They're all working animals. Like the animals have to have a purpose.
right.
And I guess these two, well, I know these two are just going to be for enjoyment for the girls.
Well, till the end of the year.
Yes.
And we've talked about it. We are going to move away for the short term from sheep and just focus on cattle
Cattle
and
and meat birds.
and meat birds, but in not just any cattle. We are actually talking about, now that we have our A2A2 bull,
Yes.
we will be thinking about breeding or having a breeding program with our A2A2 cows and heifers to get some really good genetics going for anybody out there who's looking for A2A2 Jersey cows, because
Yes. Because we're not expanding our dairy operation.
we're not expanding our dairy operation, right? But we
Ooh.
want others out there who want top quality raw dairy to be able to have access to it.
Have the opportunity. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. So
Well,
we'll try it for a season.
back to the meat birds. We are overly ambitious here. I know some farms do a whole lot more than we do, but this is our first time doing 100 meat birds in the spring. Now we're doing them 30, a little over 30 each, 33 or so for each batch. And we're working on our very first batch.
Okay. But we're not at 33. We're at 26 right now.
There's
And
some loss there, yeah. But I mean, this is what really happens. You get very ambitious. You have these plans, and we share this with you because some of these well-laid plans don't turn out all how you want them to be. And so we did take a few loss for our chicks so far, so it's a little bit disheartening, but we're going to keep moving forward.
right. We still want to hit the goal of 100. So
Mhm.
Tim and I have talked about it. We really have found that raising 2 batches of meat birds does really well in the spring. And that's what we did last year. And we were done. And we've been set with our meat chickens this 2025. We wanted to go up to 100 for 2026 and do 3 batches. But it sounds like we need to change.
Hatcheries.
We need to change hatcheries because we've already pre-ordered for
Yeah.
this batch and then the next batch that's coming in 2 weeks. So
We
we're set there, but
Yeah.
it sounds like we're going to have to do 2 more around summer.
Yeah, they take 8 weeks to get to full term. And we did stagger them all because we can only do, I mean, once you do like 25, at least 25 birds on a given day, that's enough for us.
I don't know. Maybe we need to talk about it because we're going to harvest all the sheep too. So maybe we don't need so many chicken.
Well, you mentioned we only had 2. We actually had a few more.
Yeah.
So we have a little bit more meat, which is a good thing.
Well,
having more
I know,
meat.
but we might sell that. So
Okay.
Yeah.
So more plans. We've got a lot of irons in the fire. In addition to what's going on in the homestead, we have some business ventures going on.
Oh, yes, that's right. Have we talked about it before?
I don't think so.
We might have, because last year,
2 years ago, we purchased this land.
Yep. 2 years? No, 3 years ago.
Okay, 3 years ago we purchased land and we had farmers working on it. And well, they said they were going to be farmers, and they turned out not to be farmers. And then last year we leased the land out to a cattle rancher. And so this year we're still doing that, and we're doing a combination and creating an RV campground.
Right. So I got the septic approved last year and have just been sitting on it because it's a little intimidating. I've not started an RV campground before.
Mhm.
And so what we have found though is that there's definitely a need,
Mhm.
especially in this world that we're living in right now economically. We're seeing that there are people who are looking for a long-term housing in the form of their recreational vehicle that they could use some space outside of just being in a RV park. So that's why the RV campground, and the fact that we even got it approved for an RV campground is huge because that in and of itself is quite a feat.
Right. And not only that, I have buyers that are asking me so many really good questions, thoughtful questions about the area, and they may not be sure about it yet. And they want to test it out. They want to stay for a few months. And so they've been asking me, like, where are good places to stay?
Right.
And yeah.
Right. So we're fully occupied on one of our rental properties that we have for clients who are looking to move into the area that want a home. And that is fully occupied, which now we have said, well, then that just means that we really have to move on to the next project. And I've been putting it off because it has been really intimidating. But construction, you used to
Hmm.
work for Department of Homeland Security, and before that, you were working in construction in the Bay Area, as well as DTRA, the Defense Threat Reduction Agency. So, like, I'm just going to hand it over to you and trust that you can take care of it. But it's something that we feel there's such a need, especially in this economy right now. If I think about what I would want if the rest of my family didn't want to farm, if I am in my 60s, I would love to have a place in a small community, not in an RV park with 50 different vehicles and, hundreds of people. I would just want to be in a small community where I could be with others that cared about the things that I care about. We already have an organic orchard there. We have an organic garden. We have a tiny home, and it's we have it leased out to regenerative farmers. So there's already cattle on the land, and it just is that land is so peaceful.
Hmm.
And I hope that we can just get a couple of spots in there. We're thinking about 5 to 7 to start and try it out.
Yeah. Okay. What else we got going on?
There's a lot. You have fencing to do, mister.
Okay. Okay. We'll talk about what else we're doing on the homesteads. Not only are there a lot of babies going on, but fencing. So I'm going to be creating some more fence work for pasture, so we can do that regenerative rotational grazing, and we're going to be diving deep into creating more IMO piles,
Right.
IMO four piles.
Right. So IMO is indigenous microorganisms, and it is a huge part of Korean natural farming. And I'd argue to say Asian natural farming because this is the kind of stuff that I grew up with. We already have a lot of our other amendments from creating our own fish amino acids. I have FJs, FPJs that I've made already last year. So fermented plant juice, fermented fruit juice, and so many. I've got the calcium, I've got the vinegar, I've got everything going. OHN, which is Oriental Herbal Nutrients. So now that we can finally work the land,
Hmm.
the next thing that we're going to do is start composting in place with our mm, big piles of manure from our cattle and from our sheep. And once you finish
Hmm.
making the fence so we can rotate the cattle and the livestock out, we're going to be growing lots and lots of watermelons and pumpkins and cantaloupe and honeydew. All of the melons are going to be growing off of that area to just let it rest and heal and bring back some life in the soil.
Yeah, it's really exciting times right now because we are going to get our hands dirty, literally, so that we can create these IMO piles because we need to get these spring plant beds going. And not only that, we absolutely love learning more about Korean natural farming because it ties in directly with what we grew up learning from our parents or our grandparents. And it just adds more tools to the toolkit. And we're teaching it as well to our local communities because this is something that you can
Mhm.
apply right now. It doesn't cost a lot of money. It actually, literally, you can see the effects not overnight, but just in a matter of days, you can see changes in your plants, in your produce, just seeing how much they will thrive because the whole premises behind Korean natural farming, for instance, is introducing microbes into your soil. So taking dead dirt and bringing more life into it. That's literally what we're doing, adding more life to it. And these are local microbes.
Your shirt.
Yes, buy dirt, build soil. And we're finally talking a little bit more about that. And we're sharing it with the local community of what does that mean to buy dirt, but actually build the soil? Can the land be amended? What if it's been sprayed with grays on? Yes. The answer is yes, it can be amended.
Yeah, it's really neat. I think that growing up with my grandpa and with my mom showing me all this stuff, we've been doing it ourselves for the last several years. And even when we were in Lincoln, there's a photo in the Nourishing Asian kitchen where you're holding this 35-pound watermelon that we grew in just our very first season from barren soil with dirt rather,
Right.
and turning it into soil. And within what, 4 or 5 months, we had an influx of food and melon. So we have been doing that. We've been testing so many different ways. And so now it's really, really great to see it come full circle. We are both the co authors of the forthcoming Nourishing Asian Homestead
That's right.
book, where we're going to be talking and sharing all of our recipes for how to make these amendments. And not just for Korean natural farming, it's a lot of combination of Asian natural farming, including bokashi, composting, all of the KNF, as well as many of the other ways that traditionally the Chinese, the Vietnamese, and many cultures, Asian cultures, the way that we've been farming
Yeah.
and intuitively as well. And I'll just add this note because I think we talk about science and we do a lot of soil tests and we want to try to figure out like what are the amendments we need to buy, and we talk about NPK. But at the end of the day, when you think about who and how um, science works and who the scientists were back in the day before there were microscopes and soil tests, I'd venture to say that the scientists back then were actually farmers. They were the ones that tested what they could grow, what they could add to the soil. This is thousands of years, right? And if they didn't get it right, their entire lineage wouldn't survive. And so that's just out of the process of elimination or addition of things that they were adding to the soil, the organic matter, the soil biology, but maybe they weren't able to pull up and take a look at all of the microbes under a microscope, but they knew if I add this, this is what happens to my plant, my tree. And if I add this during this stage of its life, this is what we're going to get, exponential growth. And so over the last several years, I took our eldest daughter, was but 4 years ago, I took her to an intensive with me. It was like a 3 or 5 day intensive. I don't remember. It was quite a bit. We took our RV to North Carolina up in the mountains, and we learned how, like, level 1 of Korean natural farming. So we are already certified for the last several years. And then um, just this last month, Tim and I and the children had an opportunity to fly out and train with Chris Trump. And Tim officially now is a soil smith. And the entire family is now able to teach our 5-day intensives where we talk and walk through all of the amendments, and all of the techniques of Korean natural farming. And it literally is just using what is available and accessible to you on your land. This is how we farmed. This is how my great grandparents, our great grandparents, farmed. It's using the things that they had access to local to them. There were not any access to salt fertilizers across nations shipping over by boat. It was literally what they could use to ferment, the things that they had in their kitchen, the things they had on their land, putting it together and making sure that they could grow the best, most nutrient dense food for them and their families. Okay. So, on the heels of that trip, it was a 2-week long training that we have been a part of. And gosh, there were so many flight delays. It was right before all of those storms in Hawaii. So we got stuck in Kona, then we got stuck in California. And
It was a little bit of the weather. It was also a little bit of what was going on with TSA not getting paid. So we lived through all of that.
yeah. And so that's why we've been MIA, because when we came home, we just jumped right into it. And so we are teaching our very first intro to Korean natural farming class here locally on April 12th. We will be teaching more intro classes to Korean natural farming. We'll be talking more about it in our membership at the Call to Farms membership that we have. And you can ask us all the questions about how we are implementing natural farming on our land and with our livestock. While the system gets more fragile, we're building resilience, not just here on our land, but with our community. We are teaching this with our local community because ultimately that's what it's going to take. All of us coming together, especially when gas prices are rising and we're not going to be able to travel far distances. Hopefully, it's just for a short, limited amount of time. But all of these recipes and all of our stories and what we're doing here on the homestead and what we've been using natural farming with will be in our book, The Nourishing Asian Homestead. So we'll have a link down below for you to pre order.
We're doing a lot of things on the homestead. We know you're probably doing a lot of things as well. We want to make sure that you know that we are here to help right alongside you. This is why we have our home buying webinar that's coming up, just to reiterate, on April 30th. We have our Call to Farms community that we're providing for you. All the links for both of those are below. Reach out to us if you want some strategy on purchasing property, selling property, or even what to do on your homestead. I am so excited to finally be able to co author this book with you on the Nourishing Asian Homestead, because it's not just about recipes. We're actually sharing our experiences. And because we didn't grow up with fourth, fifth, sixth generation farmers, we learned, we came from the city and we hit the ground running. So we share our experiences, our stories of what worked, what didn't work. And we're going to be sharing tips on how you can apply natural farming methods, Asian natural farming methods, so that you too can start growing food and raising animals.
Right. Because what if the fertilizer shortage lasts into 2027? And what if your family is dependent on grocery systems? We almost make it a game within our own family to see how much time between our grocery trips we need to take. And so What does your local food resilience actually look like? Who is your raw milk provider? Who are the people who are having starts? Maybe you don't have a greenhouse yet. We're still in the process of building ours. And so we have some that we're starting, but we also have a network of local folks. And one we just connected with recently that is growing a lot of our Asian rare seeds. And so that's really exciting because that's like you always talk about, honey, redundancy,
Mhm.
right? Like, what if one of my and Asian veggies are you have some easy ones, but you also have some potential hard ones that are more tropics, right? And so the question is, what does your local food resilience actually look like? Who are the people in your local community that you can lean upon? Because now before we left on our trip, we actually harvested all of our egg layers. They were already 2.5, 3 years old. And so we said, you know what? That's actually the one chore that we would need someone to come in every day. So what if we just eliminate that and make it super easy? And thank goodness we did, because now it's forced us to find other producers in the area, and we're helping them out, providing milk for them in exchange for eggs now, in exchange for honey, in exchange for starts, in exchange for non-sprayed hay. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. The important thing to know is that you don't have to grow everything. And we're always looking for ways on how we can improve and run our homestead more efficiently. Let's talk a little bit about, before we go, let's talk about where we're going to be speaking coming
Oh,
up this year.
yes. Okay. So next week, I will actually be leaving to speak at the Seeking Whole Health Conference, which is a Christian nourishing food and health conference. And that's April 15, 16, 17. I'm teaching an intensive as well as talking about kimchi, kraut chi, and then talking about pho.
Well, that's going to be in Worcester,
Oh,
Ohio.
right, Worcester, Ohio.
And then afterwards, we're going to be teaching in May. I believe it's 15th and 16th. And that's going to be at the Prairie Roots Homestead Summit. It's going to be their very first annual one. And that's going to be in Watford City, North Dakota.
Yes, grab your tickets now. It's going to be a lot of fun up
We're
there.
going to have the links for those. And we're also going to be speaking at the Modern Homesteading Conference coming up in June 26, 27. And also at Polyface Farms in, is it September?
September 25th, 26th.
And that's when we're going to be pre-launching our book.
Right. I'm excited for you at the Modern Homesteading Conference. That is my favorite conference
Yeah,
of the year.
mine too.
So it always feels like a family reunion. So definitely get your tickets
Yeah.
for these events. We don't know where we're going to be in 2027 in terms of speaking and traveling, because we're going to be growing a lot of our own food. We're going to have two teenagers pretty soon. And so we're going to be maximizing a lot of time with them and staying home, unless we can take them with us and do a family trip. But I think it's going to be pretty busy in 2027 just on the homestead. So these are the events in 2026. Please get your tickets. We would love, love, love to meet you. If we haven't already, we'd love to see you and just hear your story. So please comment below and let us know if we're
Mhm.
going to see you at any of our conferences that we're going to be speaking at. And
And we want you to also comment what you're doing too for your spring garden as well. We love learning what everyone else is doing.
yeah, and if you have any questions at all, we're going to try to get to all of them. Let us know if you have any questions about Asian natural farming.
And if you could do us a favor, if you've been listening, please hit the subscribe button and also share this episode with your friends and family.
Thank you so much, everyone. We can't wait to connect with you again. We have the next few episodes after this are
Mhm.
going to be amazing. We've interviewed two other guests that you're going to love those interviews. And then we'll pop in again in the next couple of weeks to let you know how things are looking in May.
Sounds exciting. So until then, stay healthy.
Bye, friends.